Welcome to On the Road, and we're here in beautiful Portland, Oregon greater area, and we're putting the band back together here in the PNW district. Last year, the guru of the turnaround in membership in the PNW district was none other than distinguished Governor Roger Bell, and if that name kind of rings a bell to you, hopefully you'll be seeing that on a ballot to run for Kiwanis International Board, because he's the artful Roger, and we're looking forward to leadership of people with the membership bones in their body, like Roger Bell, stepping forward for leading our organization. And we're happy, and I should start by giving a shout out to International President Polly Latt. Polly is going through some chemotherapy treatment this next 90 days, and so while he's doing that, we're hoping the best for him, and our thoughts and prayers go out to him and his lovely wife, Susan. And meanwhile, the cat's away and the mice are at play, but the mice in PNW are working on opening clubs. And right now, year to date, in this Kiwanis year, we have 125 new clubs open, which is really a record-setting pace for new club activity. And in the North American part of our Kiwanis world, we actually have 22 new clubs open, and really by the end of this week we're going to have 25, we know, because we're going to get 3 right here in the PNW district. And so I kind of want to just start by talking briefly about how do we decide where the Eye of the Tiger group and the club opening specialists are going to go, and we're going to places that really early on in this year that have earned that right of having a group come in to help them, because they've had skin in the game. And in this case, it really is because of what happened last year in PNW. PNW had 8 new clubs last year. In past years, that'd be about a decade's worth of new clubs. But Roger Bell really got excited in Las Vegas, and I am talking in the context of opening clubs, because he was out there for his governor's retreat, and he was kind of like a born-again membership man with that. So he came back, and his band of married men and women, so to speak, included his successor and the now governor-elect, and the 3 of them helped put together a team along with Kathleen Moylan and some of the other folks that have done a great job the last time we were here in the greater Portland area. And so history is repeating itself in the PNW district, and we'll be talking with kind of the brains behind the pre-work of this effort here in PNW, Kathleen Moylan, and then next we'll talk to the governor, the current governor, Jerry, and Jerry is a former Kiwanis International employee, and now he's the #1 volunteer in the Kiwanis district here. So things are great. We had 2 great sessions here in the last 2 weekends with the class of governors, and one was in Las Vegas in the image and likeness of Roger Bell, and the other one was in Indianapolis. And the thing that happened at those meetings is I think that this class of governors in North America have gotten very, very energized. And last year in the North America, we opened 200 new clubs. And frankly, I think that is perhaps the all-time record of clubs opened in North America. But at the same time, right now, we're in our 4th month, and we're sitting at 22, and we'll probably be close to 30, I think, by the end of this month in North America. So we've got a ways to go to get that number up. And I think that the energy and the enthusiasm that we have here in PNW is a sign of what we have to look forward to and be excited about in the Kiwanis world in terms of membership and new clubs. And in fact, I'll say that I think this is probably going to be the 2nd consecutive year where we see a net increase in membership in the PNW district, and certainly that we see perhaps double digits and then some that we'll be talking about with Governor Jerry here shortly. So the first person that I want to bring in to kind of talk about, and you might kind of think that she's a vagabond, because Kathleen Moylan has hung her hat, so to speak, first and foremost in Great Georgia District, got her feet wet cut her teeth on opening clubs down there. then relocated to Ohio and was involved in numerous club openings in Ohio. And in fact, I was out in the field with Kathleen for the first time in Ohio, and she became the charter secretary of that new club that we opened together. And then lo and behold, Roger Bell kidnapped her, actually, wrapped her up in a mummy suit, snuck her into his suitcase, and took her out to the PNW district. And Kathleen's husband didn't know what hit her. And that's the way Roger Bell works. He'll get membership to grow in the PNW district under whatever means it takes. And so I want to bring in, first and foremost, a card-carrying member of the Eye of the Tiger, and really a champion of organization and pre-work and details, and that's Kathleen Moylan. So I want to bring Kathleen in. So Kathleen, it's great to have you here. And actually, my governor asked if I could just bring you home to Illinois, Eastern Iowa, and just say, too bad, Jerry, I got a better offer. So
About the highest bidder.
The highest bidder. That sounds good. And Kathleen is willing to be bought for sea suckers. And I even hear that she might be in the shoe business on the side, but not because she's a heel. But Kathleen is an energy-packed person. Frankly, she's the total package, because not only does she do membership and intricately involved in all the districts that she's been in, but she's also intricately involved in Key Club and has been wherever she's been hanging her hat. And so first and foremost, why don't you say what got you involved in new club opening to begin with?
Oh, it's really simple. I went to my first Kiwanis convention, and I went to everything that was membership related, because when I joined Kiwanis, I quickly became a membership chair in my new club, and I would say very shortly after, I became membership chair of the Georgia district. My background is in human resources. My background is in organizational development, so this is something right up my sleeve that I really enjoy, and I get to work with wonderful people and bring Kiwanis to communities and bring our family of service leadership programs. Doesn't get any better than that.
So you were actually Dewey Smith before Dewey Smith?
Dewey Smith is probably one of the reasons I'm as active as I am.
Good. Well, that's great. And certainly the Georgia district has really continued to light a fire, and that's when we had our first mega opening this year, and that was in December. And I know you were a part of that and intricately involved, and I think helped even on making appointments there. Here in PNW, you've kind of been the point person, and now you've expanded this year into the area coordinator. And why don't you say briefly what an area coordinator does?
It's a new position this year, and basically I have responsibility for the western region of the United States and western Canada. I'm really enjoying working with the membership coordinators from all of those districts, and my area director, Lindsay Weichel. We have a good time with our group, and I really feel that at the end of the year, the western region is going to be leading.
Okay, and yeah, that's a good challenge. So
right.
we'll get that out and put it on the locker room wall of all the other area coordinators throughout the world. And frankly, you yourself, I know, have been out in Southwest District. You've obviously been out in PNW in the last few months of the year. You were also out in Utah, Idaho. So you've kind of been around, so to speak, in the western part of the United States. And how do you feel about sharing yourself with not just the PNW district to the pleasure of Roger and Jerry, but now that you're kind of spreading yourself throughout some other districts in the western part?
Well, I've been doing this since we started doing blitzes. I was a lead on one of the very first blitzes that was in the Chicago area, and that was in May of 2015. So what I love is bringing my enthusiasm, and I also love showing people how to invite someone to join a Kiwanis club, because we are the best thing there is.
Yeah, and that club site that you were captain of in Chicago, I think that club is still going strong, and that's my home district, and I've had contact with the coach of that club, and it's still doing great things. And you had a young guy named, I think, Alan Geyer, that was involved on that site.
He was. Alan was my co-captain on that site, and look where he is now.
Yeah, and you've come a long way, baby, Alan Geyer. So, basically, why don't you tell us what's some of the stuff that you did in getting ready for the 3 sites here in the greater Portland area?
Well, you know, I can't take credit for a lot of it because a lot of it is stuff that was done that's tried and true by other districts. I want to thank all the other folks that have put together these blitzes. It is not an easy task by any means, but I look around this room and a lot of my Pacific Northwest team in this room bent over backwards and just jumped through hoops to get some things done. And a lot of great support from KI staff, and that was phenomenal as well. Basically, to put together a blitz, you need to put together a team. You need to get local team. You need to get some of your people with experience in the district. You have to put your venues together. You have to come up with lead lists. I would say that's probably the most tedious task. Thank goodness I had Greg Wegrich with me to do a lot of that. And then put those lists together and have people start making phone calls to set up appointments. From there, it's just basically making sure everybody gets here, and that was a lot of fun with a lot of flights being changed. But we're really enjoying ourselves here, and I feel very, very confident we'll have 3 clubs by Thursday morning.
Now, did I hear you say that Greg Wegrich was tedious? Is that what I understood? So we'll talk about that later. But you know, the thing is that you know, Greg is just an example of kind of a the rookie of the year kind of, you know, in the Kiwanis world of new clubs, somebody that was you know, the go-to man for Circle K here, and now all of a sudden he's you know, really moving up on the food charts, on the rankings of the best club openers in the world. And that's just really kind of reinvigorating to see growth like that. How do you feel about that?
I agree, and I see other people in this room that I've got John Flaherty in here, and I've got Governor-elect Melanie, I've got Governor Jerry, I've got Linda Kissinger, who's new to this and having a great time, and then of course the amazing Roger Bell. Roger kind of let me loose last year, and PNW is in a growth spurt, and we aim to continue this way.
Great. And let's not forget the Bagel Queen.
Oh,
you know,
Val, well, she's not in the room.
Yeah.
I was actually
well,
looking for
that's
her.
okay. We'll talk behind her back. And you know, I mean, she can recruit more members than she's sold bagels in her life.
I'll tell you, she's a machine when it comes to making appointments too.
Yeah, she's great. And so, you know, I've heard rumors that Kendra Skidmore has been cited actually walking around with bags and looking at stealing some of the PNW team to take back to Kentucky to send payback to Roger Bell. So you might want to, you know, check on that and alert the local authorities. So.
Well, I seem to remember that I did a little bit of work in Kentucky when I lived in Ohio, so it's kind of like I think we're pretty even.
Yeah, yeah. Well, still, you better keep an eye out and alert the police if you would. So, but you know, Kathleen, you know, I don't know how many more years you'll be in PNW, but if you need an agent to represent you, I'm available, and so. You know, I think that we could negotiate a pretty decent contract for you. So, but I appreciate that your dedication for multiple years, and again, you know, the way I think that we avoid the brain drain of leadership in Kiwanis is that we have to encourage good people to look to move up in membership. And I know you've always been kind of humble about, you know, moving up, but whatever district you end up kind of hanging your hat in at whatever time. I really think you need to be considering the leadership pipeline and becoming a governor and try to do a bang-up job.
It may happen, just don't know.
All right. Thanks a lot. We appreciate all you're doing. So, all right. So you too, if you hire a Roger Bell, could kidnap a great club opener and improve your district. And it just shows that Roger will do whatever it takes to make his district successful. And talking about somebody else in the PNW district that's willing to do what it takes, we've got Governor Jerry. Now, unfortunately, you know, if you know Roger Bell, you may have heard stories about him standing on tables and jumping up and down and getting excited. Now, unfortunately, his successor is much more laid back and demure than you know, Governor Roger was. And so we're hoping that Roger can put a little bit of that energy and excitement into my next guest here, Governor Jerry. And Jerry was out today on the same site with me, and we did get to spend some time together. And you know, you know, he'll do whatever it takes. He was out talking to people that he knew in the community. He's been known to be walking the streets in St. John's, and you know, Roger walks the streets in Vegas. Jerry's walking them in St. John's. So let's bring in a saint himself here, Jerry, to come on in and be my next guest here on the road. All right, Jerry. Yes. Now Jerry, you were a young man when you went to work for Kiwanis, and I think the office was actually still in Chicago at that time. And do you remember what year that was when you worked for Kiwanis?
I refuse to answer on the grounds that it might tend to age me.
Right. Well, you must have good legal counsel. So, but the thing is that Jerry actually was an employee at Kiwanis, and frankly, has gone the full circuit. He worked for Kiwanis. He transferred from Chicago to the Indianapolis location, and then here he is now as the #1 Kiwanian volunteer, the CEO of the PNW district. And why don't you just comment briefly on the great working relationship between you and Roger, and with your successor as well, that I'm seeing the growing relationship in your relationship.
It's a very good segue, as they say. Thank you so much, Past President Jim. I have to say that Roger and I never got along. No, we really did. I consider Roger Bell to be my friend, my mentor, and my prankster.
Okay.
And you couldn't have much more fun than you could with you working with Roger Bell. And for him to become a distinguished, I was over the moon.
Yeah. And
you saw that, of course, when we were together at the governor's meeting when it was announced, and I said, when can I make it public? But being a shy person that I am, it was really difficult for me to have that conversation with the president to talk about, making an announcement. But I think I was right on the phone 2 minutes after you said it was okay.
Good. So, and it's been a long time since PNW had a distinguished governor.
Exactly.
And certainly, Roger has set that pace. But, frankly, I think that you've taken the baton and are running very strongly. And I know that your goal is double digits. And in fact, I believe that just in the month of January alone, that you intend to open 5 new clubs in January. So with January being the first month of the 2019 year, and that you still have 9 months left in your office, so 9 times 5, if I'm not mistaken, is 45. So can we be looking at 45 clubs? They're going to start saying you're from Philippines, Luzon or something. So what's the goal, and what do you think reasonably you can achieve this year?
Well, we've set as our goal for the district is 9 new clubs. Our realistic goal is to continue that growth even after those 9. I have such a wonderful group of folks. I've got Roger helping me. He owes me big time, by the way. And then I have our governor-elect, Melanie Bosak,
Yes.
who's also on the team working with Greg. I mean, you can't ask for a better group. Kathleen, I couldn't live without her, I'll tell you that.
I've heard rumors to that fact, but I
can't live with her either. So.
That's right. So you've got a great nucleus.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And frankly, I mean, I think that 9 clubs is woefully low with that kind of talent, and considering that we're going to get 5 here in the month of January, so that leaves 8 more months. And frankly, I mean, certainly a guy with your shyness, has to be willing to commit to like at least 15, I'd say, would be a nice number, don't you think?
Well, it would be a nice number, but I'm not going to commit to that because then you'll hold me to it.
Well, so
but I am going to commit that we'll make our goal and we'll exceed that goal.
Good.
You see, to me, that's the most important thing, is exceeding goals as we set them.
And the thing is, I know you've been a big supporter of the SLPs. You were a Circle K governor, and frankly, went into business for yourself. Very successful in that. You got your teeth cut, at a young age, working for Kiwanis, and yet you never forgot where you came from.
Right.
And here you are now as the #1, the CEO of the district, and you're still out, beating the streets, opening clubs, doing it enthusiastically, doing it with a positive attitude. And why is it that you're so compelled to keep the district moving forward in membership?
Well, I think for us to grow the organization, it's important that we build clubs as well as we maintain the clubs that we currently have and help strengthen those.
Yeah.
So between the team members that I have, we're able to do a lot of that. For me, personally, it's the relationship building that goes on. If I might share just a moment,
Sure.
as I was on one of our building programs on the blitz to Georgia, I had an opportunity of walking into a bank part of which my background is, and talking with the bank president, and he issued a challenge to me, and that was, how many members do you have already signed up for this new club? We said we had 7. How many does it take? I said 15. He said, okay, put Zenobia Bank on line 15, and as soon as you fill in all the other blanks, come back and see me. I said, you know, that's a challenge that I can accept.
Good.
And we got up and walked out of that office, and at 10:30 the next morning, I was standing there, and he's going, I didn't expect you to do this that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So he walked us out of the bank, and when he did, he made a quick left into an office. In the evening, when we were all together to organize, there was that young man, and I walked up to him and I said, you're my 15th member. And he smiled and he says, I guess I am. And I says, I'm so happy. And we became good friends. We created a relationship, and that's what it is in Kiwanis. I got home, and I had a little plaque that I used to have on my desk when I had the company, and it was a Kiwanis member plaque. It was sitting there thinking, what am I going to do with this? It's sitting now in my Kiwanis office in my home. And I thought, I'm going to send this to Dan. And I did. I said, this is something, as you begin your Kiwanis career, you can have your first plaque in your office. It'll give an opportunity for you to share Kiwanis with people that come see you. If I might, I'll share with you now the letter that he sent back to me.
Okay.
And this tells you what relationships are all about. He says, today I received your letter and gift. Thank you so much for the kind words and the thoughtful gift of the Kiwanis desk plaque. I will display it proudly in my office and know that it will lead to many meaningful conversations with anyone who comes through my office doors. I am very excited about the great things that can come from our new club. Please stay in touch in faith, Dan. That's what relationship building in Kiwanis is all about.
Yeah, and that, you know, is an example of great leadership by you, you know, reaching out to a young person, sharing, you know, the Kiwanis experience, and really it's reinvigorating for all of us when you can touch someone's life like that. So, and you know, you're the kind of guy that even though you're shy and soft-spoken and understated, you still make a major impact wherever you go, Jerry. And we appreciate your energy. Last 2 weekends, you kind of worked some of that magic on your fellow classmates and kind of telling your story before them, and we appreciate it. And I really think the momentum that is going in PNW with, you know, the baton being handed from Roger to you is probably as good example of any in any district of when the people at the top work together, 1 plus 1 truly equals 3, and you don't see that any better than right here.
Right.
And how do you feel about that then? Can we get that 15 commitment from you now?
Almost, but I do have one thing to say. It's great to be a Kiwanian.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. All right. So Jerry has really continued to dedicate, you know, really his life. He was a Kiwanis employee. Now he's a Kiwanis volunteer and hasn't lost a stride in moving things forward. So next up, what we want to do is we have a new position for a longtime Kiwanis employee, even though he still looks like he could pass for a Circle K-er, you know, age-wise, and that's none other than Chris Martz. Chris and I first became acquainted when I was the board counselor on the Kiwanis International Board to Circle K, and to this day that is still my most favorite assignment by far. And there's a couple of reasons for that. You know, I think Daniel Sang was a unique leader, and at 27, he's chief of staff for a United States senator in Washington, D.C. But the other part of that was the way that Chris towed the line between motivating and, you know, at the same time not being overbearing, but still, you know, keeping things under control with the Circle K board. And that's a skill, and it's a skill that he did very well. So welcome Chris Martz in, and congratulations. Yeah. And I'll let Chris kind of say what his position's called so that it comes out right. So what's your new position with Kiwanis?
So the new position is the Director of Global Membership and Education.
Okay, and would it be fair to say that you're the new and improved version of Tatiana Day or not?
Yes, it would.
Okay,
yes.
all right. So that's what I like, is a guy that's candid and got a little confidence. Now, Chris, you've been a Kiwanian for some time as well.
17 years, yes.
Oh my gosh. So did they let kindergartners join Kiwanis or what? And I know you were Lieutenant Governor, I believe, the 100th anniversary convention that was in Indianapolis.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. So you were intricately involved, I think, on the committee for that as well.
Yes.
So, one of the things that I think is great is when we have Kiwanis employees that show their buy-in by actually being a member of our great organization. And you're one that didn't have to have your arm twisted. I mean, you did that early on, maybe as soon after you joined the staff or before?
Actually before.
Okay.
Probably about, I would say 6 or 7 years before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And that kind of leading by example is such a good stage. Your position, can you explain kind of like what your duties would be? And I know you've been in Circle K, the guru of Circle K, frankly. Then you were in the another department or whatever that was innovations, and then now you're kind of a guru in the membership arena. And what do you say if you're going to explain your position to somebody when they ask you?
Yeah, so basically I oversee our department of just membership and education, our entire staff, and work with great volunteers now across the country and across the world. I was an area director for 2 years, and so I had the experience of working with just the Northeast volunteers. So now it's great that I can take that experience globally.
Good. And with the Northeast, you had 5 districts, I think, last year, and this year you have more
7.
districts, 7 districts, and so you're kind of forming relationships with 2 new districts, and one of those, I think, is Ohio, which is a pretty large district, actually, and you get to work with Dan Litzinger, probably, yeah, and Dan's an energy-packed guy, and so the thing is that you are really helping both on the education part, which would include the governor-elect training and lieutenant governor trainings and
CLE trainings.
CLEs, and so that's a pretty big part of Kiwanis as well. And what will your role kind of be in that, if you want to maybe just explain that?
Yeah, so we have 2 great staff members who are working on education, and we really are revamping everything. We want to take a blended learning approach to CLE training, and we just want to make everything relevant to today's Kiwanian and also strengthen the leadership pipeline of the organization.
Sure. And obviously, you are also involved on the membership side, which is essentially what we're doing out here in the greater Portland area. And you've been on a couple of blitzes before. I think out in Capitol, you were on that blitz last year, and maybe were you in the New York blitz area or not?
No, I was not there.
Okay. But you've been on site of a couple, I think,
Chicago,
Indianapolis,
Denver,
Chicago, yeah. So you've kind of been exposed to that, and you have a good feel for it. And I know you're kind of an astute type of observer. You observed it Circle K very well, and kind of helped lead them. And I know Daniel Sang was on the board 3 years, and I know he has a tremendous amount of respect for you and your leadership. So have you stayed in touch with some of those Circle Kers?
I have, and in fact, I had a Circle K moment today. So we were reorganizing teams for this afternoon, and Area Director Lindsay Weichel was going to take a group out, and in the door walks a former Circle K-er who was heavily involved in Leadership Academy and his club, and it was just great to see him. And he said, "Now, what is a blitz?" And he sort of had just been kind of strong-armed into coming today, but I think he had a great experience.
Great. And do the Circle Kers view blitz to mean something else other than recruiting members?
I think so.
Okay.
So that's why we're going to start calling it a club opening event.
Okay, great. And frankly, the International Convention, you were Lieutenant Governor back in 2015, it's our 100th year, and we're back there again in 2020. And will you be involved in that as well in your capacity?
I'm sure I will be. You know, Indianapolis is a great city. Hoosier hospitality. So I love the city and I want to show it off. And as a past lieutenant governor and just a proud Kiwanian, I will be there and give them as much support as possible.
Yeah, and Indianapolis is really set up for conventions. I mean, the way the hotels feed into the convention center, and it's just a great community, and there's a lot of neat things with the Indy 500 and other attractions, the zoo, the Children's Museum, and a lot of great things. So we congratulate you on the new position, and know that, I mean, at some point, are you going to stop looking like you're a key clubber? I mean, has anybody called you the Dick Clark of Kiwanis International? Or
No, but I like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you just got to find your Ed McMahon, I think. So, but thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
And keep up the great work,
Thank
Chris.
you.
So, and, you know, one thing we know about Chris Martz is that he's a extremely hard worker and dedicated and has passion for Kiwanis, and that's the kind of leadership we need at all times. We're going to bring in just briefly, you know, a new member of the staff, but is also a Kiwanian, and I'm going to ask Alan Geyer to walk over here, Jay Hubbard, and come over here this direction with him. And Jay is actually, and this we're kind of surprising Jay here for a second. Jay has quickly kind of become the new and improved Kendra Skidmore. And what I mean by that, I mean it complimentary. You know, if he starts talking with the southern twang and that, I mean, I'm going to wonder what's going on. But at the same time, Jay was a Navy man and then was a college recruiter and recently joined in November Kiwanis staff. And what Jay has done, Jay, you can sit down. I don't bite. So, but the thing is that Jay has become like an appointment setting machine. And frankly, I had the pleasure of doing a video with Kendra last Kiwanis year where she talked about setting appointments for blitzes, club opening events, and you know, has been kind of a guru of that in her own regard. And Jay, in 60 days, has kind of become Kendra Jr. And so he's, I think you set maybe like 17 appointments here on your site in Portland.
Yes.
Yeah. And is there any truth to the rumor that, you know, the real motivation is that you're getting a drink bought for you for every 10 appointments?
That's my motivation.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about a guy with a thirst for success, you know, not other than Mother Hubbard's son, Jay. And do you call your mom Mother Hubbard?
I did.
Okay. All right. Good. So you got to show respect at all times. That's that Navy career that you had. So, but Jay really has a knack for people. And, you know, why don't you say a little bit about how does a guy go from 0 to 100 miles per hour in 60 days on setting appointments? I mean, I remember the first time you were trying to set appointments, and, you know, I think people were hanging up on you and saying, don't ever call back. And they said they would rather hear from the IRS calling about them owing money than talk to you about setting an appointment. Sure. And now people are just flocking to you like you're the Pied Piper. How do you do that?
I think one of the things I did is when I was talking initially when I started this position, I was talking to the staff that did it and just got tips from them. And one of the things that I remember from being an executive recruiter years ago, every time you hear a no, you're just that much closer to a yes. Not everybody's going to want to hear what you have to say, but enough of them are that you accomplish your mission.
Now, was that the same approach you took? You were a recruiter in the Navy, right?
Yes.
And so did you accept no for an answer in the Navy or not?
You know, sometimes you do the best you can do, and if you can't get any further, you don't chase them, you replace them. You go find another prospect and start all over again. But
I kind of like that one. If I could use that, it's not copyrighted.
feel free to plagiarize.
Okay. All right. So Jay, you know, the other thing about you is that I have noticed that nothing seems to upset you or bother you. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you do get a no or you get someone that maybe gives you a less than the expected answer that you wanted to hear. You still move on, move forward, keep the positive attitude, and keep moving forward. What do you think has driven you to have that kind of approach?
That's the way my parents raised me. You know, be thankful, be appreciative, and realize that you're fortunate. And when you're blessed and you know it, show it.
Yeah, and isn't it true that the best job you've ever had in your life is working for Kiwanis International?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the
What's
right
not
answer.
to love, right?
No, it's not the love. But so basically, Jay, because of what you've done on the phone, we talked about this, and this is an official Eye of the Tiger tie. And anybody that can set 17 appointments, and this is about the third effort in a row where Jay has maybe been the #1 appointment setter. And so instead of buying him a drink, I'm going to give him an Eye of the Tiger tie and thank him. So yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you really. You're a star in the making. We appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing the good work and keep the great attitude. And so happy to have you on the team, Jay. So, all
Thank you,
right.
Jim.
Thank you. So, and next up, we're going to talk to the Eye of the Tiger chair for the Americas, and that's the kind of the guru that has put together these on the roads. We kind of got the new and improved version of On the Road with Gary Levine. Gary actually produces this, but he kind of takes it back after we've done it, and he tries to make even Jim Rochford and Jay Hubbard look good. When he produces this thing, and he adds a little bit of music and a professional touch to it. So let's have Gary Levine come up and talk for a few minutes with us about On the Road here. All right, Jim, good to see you, Gary.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yes, and so we're not sure if you came by way of Eastern Canada and the Caribbean or Florida. I know that you hire your wife to shovel the snow while you're out opening clubs, and we appreciate that by you and her actually. And but are you getting any snow in Florida or not?
No, the weather's beautiful in Florida, getting a bit of a tan, but unfortunately I did pick up this cold coming here on the plane.
Oh.
But I'm realizing that apart from the fact that my voice has gone from maybe a high tenor to a baritone,
Okay.
it's not a bad club opening thing to do.
Yeah.
Because I was out with past Governor Roger Bell today, and unfortunately, time to time, I did have coughing fits, etc. Blow my nose, this sort of thing. It felt really embarrassing. I apologized dozens of times, but I had people actually, I think, sign applications just to get me out of the office.
All right. So any innovative type of closing that we can add that, and we might have to add that to the book. And so in saying that, I think that Gary Levine, being an a former actor as well, and so now he's even impersonating a sick man to get applications. And but Gary Levine, you're kind of writing a document. Somebody called it the War and Peace of membership and club opening. And why don't you say a few words about that?
Well, I'm one of the things that I'm involved with is our Eye of the Tiger E-Club.
Yes.
With a number of the Eye of the Tiger folks that are here on this particular blitz as well. And we like to think of it as a gift to the Kiwanis, if you like. Time to time, all of us in various districts throughout the Kiwanis world realize that not everybody's had an opportunity to go on a blitz. Not everybody's had an opportunity to experience opening clubs with you or other Eye of the Tiger folk. So we're wanting to put something on paper, a bit of a document, and I guess it's probably 40 or 50 pages now.
Oh,
but
so you're cutting down.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah, trees.
And so basically what you're doing is you're kind of putting together an A to the Z booklet on how to open clubs and kind of the methodology that we've been using here last year and this year. And I believe that you're sharing that with other leadership of the Eye of the Tiger, and then they're giving input, and you're going to kind of add that in and amend it, and then have the hot book off the press, a #1 bestseller by Gary Levine, and that certainly would be great. And
Kiwanians want to grow the organization. They
No
want
doubt.
to do well. And over the last year or so, we've kind of been working to continually perfect what we're doing that's come from you. And I've had an opportunity to go out in some club opening experiences that haven't been involved directly working with the Eye of the Tiger. And again, well-meaning Kiwanians that just don't really know what they're doing because they've never done it before. So this at least is a step in that direction to give them some information.
and your rise in terms of expertise out in the field has been really unbelievable. I mean, frankly, even though you were the formula chair in ECNC, and they were one of the top two almost from the get-go in the Kiwanis new club opening numbers, you still were kind of more in a managerial role and not really so much out in the field. And then in October of last year, or October of 2017, you were on the Blitz in Chicago, and after that, you just kind of caught fire, and your rise has been really meteoric. And what do you how do you express that happening in such a short period of time?
Well, really, it goes back to knowledge. It goes back to knowing what to do to get the job done. I mean, for the first 3 or 4 years of the formula, very growth oriented. I was on our membership global growth team before that. Again, very membership oriented. But we didn't have the step-by-step tools that you and the Eye of the Tigers have introduced that show us exactly how to do it. Not rocket science, but there's a process. There are steps to follow. And hey, now I have a certificate in my office to prove that I can do it.
Right, and can you say that word again? Process, is that what I heard you say? So can we process you in court for impersonating a salesman? But the thing is that it's kind of like another role for Gary Levine, and frankly, now you're playing the role of a super salesman, and you're going out and you have apps coming out of your pockets overflowing, because wherever you go, you're like I won't call it a nut magnet, but a sales magnet to be able to attract people to follow and your lead and want to improve their community. And do you think it's that you're playing the role of a salesman, or do you think you truly now have become just an unbelievably gifted salesperson?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a little of both, but I do think that that the more one does it, the better one gets.
Yeah.
And eventually it just becomes second nature to you. Eventually you just know how. I mean, when I was putting together the initial draft of the manual, words that were coming out were words that I've heard you speak.
Yeah.
Time and time and time again.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes. That kind of repetition is what sinks in, and then it becomes just part of your DNA.
And if you can tape that and play it at night, you'll have no trouble sleeping, Gary, by the way. So, but, frankly, on your team here, you actually have as your kind of co-leads, you've got Kathleen Moylan and Regina Woods Mitchell. And again, anybody that has to have 3 names, we know has to be good. And so, but what's the deal here, Gary? You're surrounded by women on your team of leadership. I mean, what are we missing now? Alan Geyer's got Jay on his team. I mean, it's like
Jim, we're missing my wife.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah. Well, she's out shoveling snow.
She's down in Florida right now
that's
watching.
right.
And hi, Julia.
Yeah, he loves you still. So, but the fact is that you really have come on, and I think that we've talked about that the 3 things that you have to have to club open. You don't have to be a super salesman, but you have to have the heart for Kiwanis. You have to be a hard worker, and finally you can't let rejection knock you off your game. And obviously, I think you and I could both say this, that we've been used to getting rejection throughout our lives, and it hasn't bothered us up to now. So why start now? Would you agree with that?
It's just the effect that I have on people. What can I say?
So but frankly, we'll be waiting. And what's kind of a time frame where we can see this #1 bestseller coming out and being available to the masses of Kiwanians?
Well, pretty soon, actually, at least depending on the group. I mean, if the initial draft is finished, my wife's looking at it now. I'm going to be sharing it with other members of our the Tiger E Club when I get back to Florida after this. And then it's really just a question of distribution after that.
Okay. And, frankly, while you're up here being interviewed, are we truly leaving it in the hands of Alan Geyer to do the camera?
We are, but those are good hands.
Those are good hands. So, the thing is that, your meteoric rise in terms of results, I really think that, what we're trying to do, and I would say PNW, and see if you agree with me on this, is really a great example of a district that is developing a nucleus team that really has the potential to become one of the stronger clubs, districts in club opening in the Kiwanis world. And so I think that, like a Greg Wagrich, who's we mentioned the name of, and some of the other people, the 3 leaders in a row in this district, they kind of are forming and extending that team to others. And how do you, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's the personalities of the people in PNW, or do you think what causes a PNW to come kind of out of the doldrums in terms of their membership and new club stats, and overnight almost have a net increase in membership in Roger Bell's year, and then continue that pace and then hopefully exceed it the next 2 years. What do you think causes that?
You know, it's funny because we were talking, I spent the day with Roger today going from place to place, opening, talking to members and signing them up. And we had that discussion. And I really think it starts at the top within the various districts. A lot of it comes from the governor. Kiwanians want to succeed. They don't want to fail. They want to do the best they can. It's how we're built. So if club presidents and lieutenant governors know that the governor has a certain parameter, certain sets of goals that they have, membership goals in particular, then they're going to work to achieve those goals. If the governor doesn't have those kind of membership goals, then that is not going to happen. So fortunately in PNW, in this district, this is a great district. It's a huge district. Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Alaska, a huge district, huge potential. Because we had Roger Bell last year, really membership focused, working with you and Kathleen and the other members here, the bar was set, but it was set pretty high. It was set pretty high. And it's great that Jerry, my old roommate, by the way, it's great that Jerry is picking up that mantle and running with it, that he's not shirking that responsibility. He's not saying, no, I'm not interested in membership, I'm interested in doing something else. I mean, Kiwanis clubs do fabulous work in every one of the communities that we serve with our children, whether it's a Terrific Kids program or a Bug program, whether it's reading to kids in a Read Around the World or doing pancake breakfast. They do great, great service work. But when you get to the lieutenant governor and the governor level, we're not really doing service at that level. We're growing and strengthening the organization because we know that a strong Kiwanis is a healthy Kiwanis. And that's how we can leave a legacy to those that follow us.
Yeah, and you know, I think that again, you have to continue to do it. Coming out and doing the blitz that we did back in August, I think that helped continue the fire and the drive that the team here put together. But certainly, I'm seeing even improved energy this time round from last August, and you know, that's the way that it works. Is that once you light the fire, kind of what you're saying. And you know, in fact, Roger Bell, I overheard, was saying that he wanted to travel to Alaska to sell ice to Eskimos or something, and was pretty confident he could do that. And you know, certainly a side income for him wouldn't be bad for a young guy like him. But you know, in the end, it's the team that is developing a longer bench. And frankly, I would say that PNW, if they continue this, they could be, you know, one of the top 2 or 3 districts in the entire world in membership in new clubs. And how great would that be?
That's awesome.
So, you know, one thing you might want to be careful of is that Roger also has a reputation for kidnapping good club openers. So you might want to be a little leery if you're out in the field with them. So we wouldn't want your wife to have to shovel the snow the rest of her life. So
I appreciate that.
Right. Thanks a lot, Gary. Good job. Appreciate it. And again, the amount of hours that Gary puts in on both pre-work and post-work just on this on the road is tremendous. We appreciate that. Since he's put it out on Facebook, you know, the number of views that we're getting has far exceeded, you know, the number of people when it was just merely a webinar. And frankly, that wouldn't happen without the magic of Gary Levine's IT wizardry. And I think that we have some time for some questions. So, you know, in the past we've had Barb Thompson's voice has been used, and this year we're going to have you know, Jay Hubbard's understudy. Kendra Skidmore is going to read the questions for us. And so, do we have a few questions that have come in?
Yes, we have several, Jim. The first one is, says, I don't have a new club site, but how can I use your club opening skills in my own club or to help a neighboring club?
Great, great question. And obviously, you know, it's the age-old, you know, argument, tastes great, less filling. New clubs help existing clubs. Obviously, the answer is we need to do both. And frankly, not too long ago, where we were at in the Kiwanis world is that we were really struggling in both areas. And what the formula did do is they about cut in half the loss in membership that we were having from existing clubs. But what happened last year with the Eye of the Tiger group is that we really doubled the best year of the formula in terms of our new clubs. We opened 411 clubs last year, and the best year previously to the formula in the first 4 years was 207 under John Button's leadership. So the thing is that it does work in an existing club, but it doesn't work exactly the same way as a new club. And I want to explain this very succinctly. In a new club effort, you can go out and go around to businesses and talk to them about joining the club, your existing club. The problem is that the closing tool of having to have 15 or more people say, yeah, we think it'd be a good idea to have a Kiwanis club here in this community, and we're going to bring them together as the charter members to make decisions for the club. Well, when there's already an existing club in place, the club isn't going to fold if they don't get another member. And so the sense of urgency to close someone to join, it's very easy for them to say, well, I want to come and check it out before I make a decision. And so the closing psychology is much different. So we have 12 methods in the Eye of the Tiger training materials that are for existing clubs. And I'm just going to run through 3 of those very quickly. One of those is to reach out to key club parents. And how do we do that? Well, we have a social event, and we invite key clubbers that have had success from that community come in and talk about their success. And then generally, we like to have someone that is a good closer, like an Alan Geyer, a Gary Levine, a Kendra Skidmore, or Regina Woods Mitchell, whatever. I mean, that we bring someone in that has that experience to close them on making that decision to join right now. And essentially what they say is, hey, if you think your child's gotten a good experience out of being in this key club, and the best thing that we do in Kiwanis, bar none, then let's keep that going for other children. Or maybe you have another child that you'd like to have that experience. And Key Club only operates because it is, sponsored by Kiwanis. And, frankly, yeah, even though it's got more members than Kiwanis, it still is the best thing we do. And I've seen very successfully that work where a Key Club is very strong in a community. Another method is to basically have some sort of a challenge. And a lot of Kiwanians are competitive. And so I've seen clubs do like a steak and beans challenge. And they say if you recruit a new member, like in a 30 or 60-day competition, you're going to get steak at the meeting at the end of that. And so will your new member. But if you don't recruit a member, you're going to get beans instead. And it's a steak and bean challenge. And frankly, generally what happens is that when they come, they'll get the steak, and those that didn't recruit somebody won't get beans, but they will get the normal meal that's offered at that club meeting. But the fun that the club can have and kind of being enthusiastic about that is really what makes it fun. The third one is a kind of has a little bit of retribution, but it's kind of having a 600-pound gorilla at your meeting. And I'm not talking about Gary Levine when he goes through the buffet at the hotel, but the 600-pound gorilla is actually a stuffed gorilla. And what they do is they draw out of a bucket, out of the names of the members of the club, somebody's name. And if they haven't either recruited a new member this Kiwanis year into the club or brought a prospective member as a guest, they have to take the 600-pound gorilla home with them and bring it back with them to every meeting until they either recruit a member or get a prospective member guest to come with them. So to get the monkey off the back, that's what they got to do. Now, that's not the right thing for every club, but I've seen clubs do that, and they have a lot of fun with it. And again, we got to have fun in Kiwanis. So there are ways to help existing clubs. We just have to be innovative in socials, at night, wine and cheese, having some entertainment. I've seen that work successfully, but there's 12 of those that we have available to distribute.
Okay, we've got lots of questions coming in.
Okay.
The next one that I think is burning in the back of a lot of people's minds: has Kiwanis tried to target alumni hotspot areas to generate or develop a new club model to re-engage them?
So when you're saying that, are you talking about former members of Kiwanis or members of our SLP programs?
SLPs.
Okay, so SLP has really been something that when I first got involved in Kiwanis, it was almost like a no-no if you ever talked to a Key Club or a Circle K about joining Kiwanis, when they got out of those programs. And I think that was in the heydays when we seemed to have no trouble with our membership, and really up to 1992-93 year, we were on kind of a roll where we would grow by a little bit each and every year. Well, then since 92, 93, last year was only the second time since then that we actually had a net increase in membership without an asterisk. And so what we need to do, and I think what we've decided in terms of a change in direction in that regard, is that we have to figure out a way to bridge the gap between people being in our great service leadership programs, particularly Key Club and Circle K, and getting them to step into Kiwanis membership. Well, Governor Jerry, he was a governor in Circle K. Alan Geyer, a former Key Clubber. I'm a former Key Clubber, and that's why I'm in Kiwanis. So we can do that, but we specifically have to reach out, and I think we have to try to have innovative events in areas where we know there's Key Clubbers. Now, former Key Clubbers. So, what do we do? Well, I think having a social event is a natural for that. I think another thing is to have a service project where we try to reach out to former Key Clubbers and Circle Kers to be involved in doing service. Interestingly, this last year in Kiwanis, the 411 clubs, the average age of all the members in all the clubs was 47. The average age in Kiwanis is 60 right now, so 13 years less. Even more interesting is that the average age of the presidents was 49, so 11 years less than our average age of a Kiwanis member. So if you're out in the field and you're looking for younger members, you will find them. And what I find is that they are dying to continue to serve their community. And frankly, I feel that generation actually has more of a commitment towards service than maybe even the generation above it, and certainly they're out there. So I think depending on the community, depending on your access to that information, we need to reach out, but we need to do it through innovative ways of having social activities or service activities that will make them want to get involved.
Another question, Jim. In regards to the new clubs, has there been any feedback from charter members as the most appealing component to join Kiwanis?
Yeah, I think that it just depends on the community. I think that, in opening new clubs, there still is that overall feeling of pride in your own community, and that you want to give back and make the quality of life in your own community better by doing service and having an impact on youth. I think that is our best selling point. There's a reason that we have 70% of our membership in the United States, and that Lions and Rotary have 80% now and 68% outside the United States. What's the difference? The difference is our emphasis on service leadership programs and the impact that we're making with youth in giving back to their community by doing service. I'd say that's the number one reason that we find that people want to get involved.
One more. Can you talk about the lead list for club openings? Do you, it says, what do you need in that list beyond contact information?
Yeah, so basically phone numbers, emails, can be of help. But really what we do is we have a team on these club opening efforts that calls and makes appointments. So, Jay Hubbard makes 17 appointments, from Indiana all the way out to Portland, Oregon. And, so you can do it if you're a hard worker. And really, that is a monotonous task. But, Kathleen Moylan and Kendra, you like to call it sourcing. I'm not sure what that means. I need a dictionary or to buy a vowel. But I think what it means is of getting prospects and then getting them to people that can call and set appointments. And what we find is that if we get 15 to 20 appointments on a site, we're going to get a club opened in 3 days. That's better for the community than making a brain surgery that drags on for months, and it keeps energy in the club and the club effort. So is that our last question then, Kendra?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I think we're down to about 2 minutes left, and again, time flies fast when you're having fun. The PNW team is just a team that knows how to have fun, and I think that in Kiwanis, really that's the bottom line. We have to make our organization attractive to people coming and having fun, but yet still achieving great things. And so you want to talk about fun. Going to the Kiwanis International Convention, which is now open for signing up, on the grounds at Disney. And we're not talking about a Mickey Mouse operation. We're talking about Kiwanis coming on and taking over Disney and having all the fun that you can have in Orlando on the grounds in Disney. And frankly, I personally, I think it's the single best site that we can have to have an international convention. And so, in the end, I think you're going to get the chance to see a lot of great forums. We're going to elect our future leaders, and we're just going to have a lot of fun. And if Gary Levine or Alan Geyer act like they're goofy, it might be that they've been to Disney one time too many. But at the same time, it is all about having fun and enjoying and looking forward to getting together with people. I'm going to look forward to seeing all these great PNW people down in Florida enjoying our convention. And I thank you for joining in tonight. I thank PNW for the dedication of building the team. And frankly, 1 + 1 = 3. Polly, we're wishing you our best, and we have you in our thoughts and prayers. So thank you, and I think that's the end of our time, if it's not.